Shalom. Today we focus on Psalm 56. For the leader, on Yonat Elem Rechokim of David, a Michtam, when the Philistines seized him in Gat. Notice that there are Hebrew words here that I left untranslated because the Jewish Publication Society, the translation that I use, they do not translate words whose meanings are uncertain or unclear. They simply leave them in Hebrew. And so I am following their lead. Have mercy on me, O God, for men persecute me. All day long my adversary oppresses me. My watchful foes persecute me all day long. Many are my adversaries, O exalted one. When I am afraid, I trust in you, in God, whose word I praise. In God I trust. I am not afraid. What can mortals do to me? All day long they cause me grief in my affairs. They plan only evil against me. They plot. They lie in ambush. They watch my every move, hoping for my death. Cast them out for their evil. Subdue peoples in your anger, O God. You keep count of my wanderings. Put my tears into your flask, into your record. Then my enemies will retreat when I call on you. This I know, that God is for me. In God, whose word I praise, in the Lord, whose word I praise, in God I trust. I am not afraid. What can man do to me? I must pay my vows to you, O God. I will render thank offerings to you, for you have saved me from death, my foot from stumbling, that I may walk before God in the light of life. Once again, the psalmist reflects what it must be like to be in King David's shoes. Again, he's not king yet. He has been anointed king by Samuel, but Saul is still the king in place. David is awaiting his turn. Meanwhile, he is being pursued by Saul or by the Philistines. In this case, he has been captured by the Philistines. And so the psalmist is imagining what it must be like to be young David in the position of imprisonment and capture. Verse 6, all day long they cause me grief in my affairs. They plan only evil against me. Verse 7, they plot, they lie in ambush. They watch me, or they watch my every move, hoping for my death. Yesterday, my wife was involved in a Zoom conference meeting with her colleagues, and there were many people on this meeting, and all of a sudden, the meeting was what is known as Zoom bombed. That is to say, hackers found a way to get into the meeting and immediately began spewing racist and misogynistic diatribes. The people who were on the meeting, of course, were shocked, they were amazed, and they were horrified. It took several minutes before the host of the meeting was able to end the meeting, thereby stopping the racist diatribes, but also the meeting had to immediately be terminated as well. The people who were involved in the meeting were horrified, and especially those who were members of minority groups, people of color, and so on, were so deeply offended. But everybody, of course, was offended and troubled by this. You don't have to be Black or Latino or a person of color to be offended when somebody comes out in the open and starts spewing words of hate and violence. Everybody was terribly, terribly shaken by this. They plot, they lie in ambush. They watch my every move, hoping for my death. Whoever hacked or Zoom bombed that meeting, they were, in a sense, lying in ambush, tracking the move of groups like this, groups like my wife's professional organization that hold meetings and may include in descriptions of their meetings words such as diversity or racism or bigotry or social justice, social action, and so on. And when racists find those key words in meeting advertisements, or however they do this, they find ways to hack into those meetings and use it as an opportunity to sneak in and, in an act of sheer verbal violence, wreak havoc and terror on all those involved. These kinds of developments are shocking and terrible in today's world. Reminders that hate and racism are very, very much alive and need to be fought against. And we have to believe that for all of us who stand against hate and racism, we have to believe, indeed, we know that God is on our side, that God is with us. In verse 9, the psalmist says, "You keep count of my wanderings, put my tears into your flask, into your record." So I notice an interesting play of words here. The Hebrew reads, "Nodi safarta, nodi, my wanderings you count. Atasi madimati, you put my tears binodecha, in your flask." Nod, nodecha. So nodi, or nod, means wandering, but nod with an extra Hebrew letter, an aleph in the middle, means a flask, but it also can mean a wineskin. And a wineskin would be, of course, used by those who would travel from place to place, either wine merchants or anyone who wanted to transport wine from one place to another would do so using a wineskin rather than a bottle, because it was much lighter to carry, a much lighter burden. And I can only think of God wandering with a wineskin or with a light skin flask, wandering throughout the earth, just as we wander ourselves. And God takes note of our wanderings, and God, in his wandering throughout the earth, notices us. All of us are wanderers together. We are, and God is. All of us are unsettled. We have difficulty resting in place, staying put and feeling secure, because we never know whether somebody will be out to persecute or to pursue us and to unsettle us and make us afraid. And in the same way, just as we remain unsettled, God also remains unsettled as long as we are. God empathizes with us. God is with us in our wanderings as we are shaken up by all the things that are happening today. So too, God is feeling unsettled and upset and troubled. God is with us in our troubles. And so the psalmist repeats twice in this psalm, "When I am afraid, I trust in you. In God, whose word I praise, in God I trust, I am not afraid. What can mortals do to me?" With slightly different phraseology, that sentence, that passage is repeated twice in our psalm. What can mortals do to me? Well, actually, they can do plenty. They can do great harm to me. They have the capacity of wreaking terrible havoc and destruction. The racists do. And yet, in reality, as long as I trust in God, as long as I have a connection with God, I will not be afraid, because if I fear, I am giving them the upper hand. Instead, I will try to rest easy in my faith and security, knowing that God is by my side, that God and I and we together are traveling this journey as one. Thank you.